Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to demystify something absolutely incredible, an infrastructure that is completely invisible to us on a daily basis. I mean, we all know that cloud is just a metaphor, right? But the actual physical reality of how our global internet works, it's way more rugged and honestly a whole lot more mind-blowing than you might think. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. How does your data actually cross the ocean? Just picture it. You're sitting in a coffee shop in New York, right? And you send a massive high-res photo to a friend over in Paris. Or maybe you're chilling in London streaming a video that's hosted on a server all the way in Tokyo. How does that incredibly heavy packet of digital info literally get from point A to point B when there is a gigantic turbulent ocean right in the middle? We do this stuff dozens, no, hundreds of times a day, but we almost never stop to think about the literal physical commute our data takes. So, Section 1, the myth of the cloud. Let's shatter that illusion. Because we're constantly on our wireless devices, our phones and tablets, it's a super common misconception that all our global data just bounces up into space to some satellite in orbit. But the gritty reality, it's actually the exact opposite. The vast majority of our communications infrastructure doesn't live up there in the sky at all. It rests all the way down at the very bottom of the ocean. And hey, we aren't just talking about some tiny backup system here. A totally staggering 99% of all international data traffic runs through this underwater infrastructure. 99%. Financial transactions, your international video calls, all that cloud syncing, it literally all relies on cables. Satellites just cannot compete with the sheer speed, the bandwidth, and the reliability of physical cables running beneath the waves. The scale of our reliance on this hidden, submerged network is just, well, it's absolutely wild. Which brings us to Section 2, the physical internet, a truly tangible entity. And this brilliantly illustrates just how crazy this is. It's wild to realize that these vital arteries of the global economy, these submarine communication cables that transmit literally terabits of data every single second, are basically the exact same width as a standard garden hose. Yeah, a garden hose. Inside that narrow little casing are these tiny strands of glass carrying your data as literal pulses of light. It makes the actual physical footprint of our massive digital world shockingly, shockingly small. But it gets even more extreme when you think about where these garden hose-sized cables actually have to survive. Because, they don't just gently rest in some shallow water near the beach. No, they are laid straight across the vast, abyssal plains of the deep ocean. In some spots, they're lying at depths that match the height of Mount Everest. Just pause and think about that for a second. If you took Mount Everest and flipped it completely upside down into the ocean, that is the immense, bone-crushing depth we're talking about here. It's pitch black, it's freezing cold, it's an intensely high-pressure environment. And yet this fragile-looking, narrow little cable just sits down there in the mud, silently pulsing with the collective data of human civilization, literally holding the world together. Moving on to Section 3, crossing the ocean floor. Let's actually trace your data. So it starts right with your smartphone or your laptop. You hit send, and that data immediately travels through local terrestrial fiber-optic networks right under your local streets and highways until it hits what's called a coastal landing station. Now, these are highly secure but usually pretty boring-looking buildings right on the edge of the ocean where the land network basically shakes hands with the sea. From there, your data shoots out as an incredibly fast pulse of light into that submarine cable, crossing thousands of miles of absolute darkness right across the abyss. And finally, it hits another landing station on a whole new continent, routes back through their local land cables, and arrives at an overseas server. It's this epic global physical journey, and it all happens in a fraction of a heartbeat. All of this leads us to Section 4, protecting our global connection, securing the network. So, the crucial point is, because our entire global internet relies on these tiny garden hose-sized cables, everyday physical forces become massive, massive threats. You know what the number one culprit is? Ships' anchors. Literally, a commercial vessel dragging an anchor in shallow waters can easily just snag and snap a cable. We also have to battle commercial bottom trawlers dragging these huge, heavy fishing nets, not to mention natural disasters like underwater earthquakes. Actually, a single underwater earthquake near Taiwan back in 2006 severed multiple cables at once. It severely disrupted internet access across Asia for weeks. So it's a really fragile ecosystem down there, and it requires constant repair by these specialized ships just to keep us all online. So I gotta ask, next time you send a text message overseas, will you think of the ocean floor? We are just so completely used to the instant magic of modern technology that it's super easy to forget the immense physical reality that makes it all possible. The cloud is a cool metaphor, for sure, but the ocean floor, that is the reality. Hopefully, the next time you stream a video from across the globe, you'll actually picture that tiny little pulse of light racing through a cable miles beneath the surface. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning.